let go of all that we know and dance in the stardust gentle flow.
Welcome
Dancing in
back
the
to the Pause
stardust
Straight Up. I'm your host,
memories.
Shannon. Thank you so much for joining us this week. So, what are we all about here at the Pause? I started this podcast because I am a woman in midlife. I am 48 years old, and I really didn't find any podcasts for all of like the dozens that I listened to that really focused on just the experience of living through the struggles of things like perimenopause and the stuff we go through with our relationships, with our kids, with our jobs, with just society in general, kind of taking a look at us as middle aged women and saying, we don't care what you think. Have a seat. We're looking for the hottest new 20 something or even younger, better yet, gross. And so why shouldn't we have our own space? That's what I thought to myself. I was in these Facebook groups and seeing everybody talking about all the things they were suffering through and women really commiserating with each other. And I love that. But where is the podcast for that? Where we can kind of laugh about it, share some struggles, and really kind of help each other through the struggles that we experience. And we can really help each other through these experiences because we have so much in common, so much more than divides us, honestly. Once we get to midlife, there's just a set of experiences we can all sympathize with. So that is why I started the pause. And if you are a woman in midlife and you want a space where you can just hear somebody talk about their problems, where you can leave a comment explaining what you're going through, and maybe we can discuss that in a future episode, I would absolutely love it. In the future, I hope to be able to interview some other ladies going through it. So if you're somebody who would love to be on a podcast and kind of spill your guts about everything you're going through, please hit me up. I would love to get in touch with you and do that. I'm hoping to have some of my friends come on here as we kind of expand because the diversity of experiences that we're all going through, we are all of us valuable people with opinions that should be shared and should be honored. So that's what we're all about here at the Pause Straight Up. And thanks again for joining us. Let's get into it. Listen, I am tired, tired of being the only person in my household who notices when things are getting messy, who notices when shit's been laying on the floor for a week and nobody picks it up. Is it just me? My husband and I, just the two of us, mind you, just the two of us. We don't have a gaggle of kids running around here, but we do have a cat, and he loves to play in boxes like every other cat that's ever existed in the history of the world. And so when we get some cardboard boxes kind of collecting, I put cardboard boxes in our kitchen, kind of off to the side, and my husband's job is the garbage. I will be frank and say it is his main and frankly, really only job other than lifting heavy things and reaching high stuff up on a shelf or I don't even know, packing the car if we go on a trip. Beyond that, this man is kindly taken care of by me most of the time. And I don't want to complain about that too much because that's certainly something I've agreed to and I've made my peace with it. But when the cat has scattered the boxes across our entire kitchen, and it's your job to handle garbage, to handle the boxes, to take them to recycling, when that's your job, you might get a day of like, let the cat frolic in the boxes. But when it's been a few days and boxes are scattered, and I've asked you nicely, "Hey, could you please take those boxes out of here?" And you've told me, "Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I will do that tomorrow. Yeah, I'll do that tomorrow." And you get that message for over a week, and now we're into week 2. Come the fuck on. Just do your job. I am a grown adult here, you're a grown adult here. Neither my husband nor myself are super clean freaks. I'm perfectly willing to be flexible. If there's boxes across the floor for a couple days so the cat can enjoy himself, I'm happy I'm happy to give the cat that grace. No problem. But when I've asked you and you've told me that you're going to handle it and then you don't, that's a problem for me. Anybody else suffer through that? A partner who makes those promises and then just doesn't follow through on them? I love my husband dearly, but I can't be told a dozen times that you're going to do something and then have you not do it and then not feel disrespected. I know my husband loves me. I know in general he respects me, but that is disrespectful. And I can't stop thinking about it in my mind. I'm washing the dishes and thinking to myself, why am I washing these dishes? I should just let this sink full of dishes sit here until those boxes are gone. Shouldn't I? Fair is fair. And then I start to gaslight myself and I start to think, oh my gosh, maybe I just am blowing it out of proportion. It's just boxes. I mean, we need these dishes to function. The boxes are just a bit messy. Get over yourself. Believe me, boxes scattered across your entire kitchen for 2 weeks, I've I have gotten over myself. I have had no problem with that for quite a while. But how many of you out there would let that continue on? I don't know. And I don't know how to approach it with my husband because then it triggers defensiveness. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'll do it. I'll do it. He's never called me a nag, but English isn't his first language, so maybe he just hasn't learned that word yet. So I don't know, but ah, that is what's annoying me this week. And now let's get into our main segment for this week, which is trying to resurrect my decrepit, decaying body via health and wellness goals for 2026. Yay! Actually, no, I'm not one of those people who every year sets New Year's resolutions and I attempt them and I am super successful, or I attempt them for 2.5 weeks and then I try to forget they ever existed. I'm not really one of those people who says, okay, here are my resolutions. But this year, my body really has been just conspicuously failing me. And one of the main things that I want to address is like my complete and utter lack of physical flexibility. I've seen so much content online about how our hip flexors really fuck us up and they hold so much stress and tension and trauma and all of those things. And I can just say, confirmed. My hip flexors are just wound up as tight as a spring ready to explode. And it's seriously impacting me. It's impacting my ability to stand up out of a chair, to get out of bed in the morning, to bend over and pick things up. I do have an issue with a couple of the discs in my back, and so that can also impact my physical ability to get around. However, my main objective this year is to improve my flexibility via stretching. And that is a goal that I've made. So when I started to think about that, okay, well, I want this to be my main goal. I thought, okay, is there anything else that I could just kind of sneak in there that are also kind of general health and wellness things, but not bullshit, things that I could realistically actually do. And in my exploration of this idea, I encountered something called 75 hard, which is so far beyond my ability to commit to. But essentially, the original, like this is where it starts 75 hard, right? It's a program, it's been around for years. You might have heard of it. But it's like you spend 75 days committing to these health and wellness goals, which are really focused around working out. So like you work out every single day for 75 days and you have various objectives related to essentially working out as hard as you can, drinking enough water every day, and other wellness goals you see fit. But then they developed a 75 soft version where you had a bit more flexibility with that. Okay. Because I think on the original 75 hard, if I'm not mistaken, if you missed a day, you had to start over. Some nonsense shit like that a 20 something year old man came up with for sure. I then encountered something which I felt could actually be workable for me, which is 30 soft. And so the duration is not 75 days, rather, it's 30 days. So immediately more manageable and you get to create your own goals. And yes, they are focused on kind of health and wellness, but they don't exclusively have to be, right? And in fact, it's kind of encouraged to not just be health and wellness. So let me give you an example. For my 30 soft, which is what I've chosen to do, number one, if you miss a day, you don't have to start over from scratch. There's so much more flexibility because it truly, the goal is to build longer term habits here, not just to get to 30 days and check it off the list and move on. No, you should be building habits that you truly love doing that benefit your health and mental health and wellness and all of those things. So I chose number one, stretching for at least 10 minutes at the beginning of every day. I do work from home. I am a teacher, I teach online. And so that's a lot of sitting for me every day. So I wanted to start my day with some stretching, not too much, about 15 minutes. This would require me to get up a bit earlier. So my other goal was to wake up an hour and a half before work instead of the usual hour, because I take about an hour normally to get ready, shower, makeup, make my coffee, get my little morning crack. Have these Norwegian crisp egg crackers I eat for breakfast because they're super quick. And anyway, so get all my stuff together. My morning routine takes about an hour. So I said, let me wake up an hour and a half earlier. So that was another goal. This necessitates me going to bed a bit earlier, but rather than set myself a bedtime, because I am an absolute night owl, rather I just said to get around 7 hours of sleep or more. Now, realistically, for me as a night owl, I really try to get at least 6 hours of sleep. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but studies have shown that when you have gotten fewer than 6 hours of sleep for a prolonged period of time, I believe in the study it was 10 days in a row, your brain is impacted in a way similar to being tipsy, right? Your decision making process is kind of impaired or slowed. But the difference is when you are tipsy, you know that you are tipsy. You've been drinking. It's clear to you that you are impaired in some way. But when you have been sleep deprived for an extended period of time, you don't realize the level of your impairment. You're just trying to make it through every day and you're not perceiving that the things you're doing and saying might be influenced by the fact that you are short of sleep. So I always try to get at least 6 hours or more. There are many nights when I do not. There are many nights when I've slept 5.5 hours. And as I've gotten older, this has become harder and harder and harder to manage. And it's deeply frustrating to me because I don't want to go to bed before midnight, hardly ever, really. Unless it's the end of the long week and I don't have to work tomorrow, as my husband often teases me, I go to bed early on Friday nights. Why? Because tomorrow is mine entirely to enjoy. I don't have to be at work, so I'm not trying to extend my evening as long as possible in order to enjoy my free time because, oh, it's work tomorrow. No, I can do whatever I want tomorrow. So let me go to bed early, get some more sleep, and then tomorrow I'll wake up and I can do more things. And it's like this insane cycle I go through. My husband, I don't know if he's rightfully making fun of me for it. To me, it just seems logical that I would go to bed early when nobody's forcing me to do that in order to quote unquote be productive. I don't know. Anyway, so point being, I want to get 7 hours, but my goal is officially on paper that I created my Notion file in to get 6 hours or more, which is more realistic for me. So that's what I mean. You have to set realistic goals. So for now, it's 6 hours or more, but ideally 7 hours or more of sleep for me. I would also like to make sure I drink a minimum of 1.5 liters of water every day. This is not hard for me. Again, as a teacher, I use my voice, so I'm constantly drinking fluids, but sometimes I focus more on iced coffee than just on pure water. So, again, a goal, 1.5 liters of water every day. Another goal that I have is to read for at least 30 minutes every day. That is not for my job. I do have to read quite a bit for work. So I'd like to do some more reading that is just for my pleasure, just for fun. It doesn't have to be fiction, it can be nonfiction as well. But I really don't prioritize that anymore. It's been years since I really prioritized reading for fun. That makes me really sad. I can see the impact that devices have had on my life, on the choices I'm making in terms of leisure. And I just end up doom scrolling until I am too tired to do anything else. Then I go to bed. And that's really sad. So, one of my goals is to read 30 minutes every night before bed. I have not been as successful with that as I have been with the other things. And again, it is because I do feel overwhelmed with stuff that's going on in the world. And so I tend to spend more time on my phone than I should. So, to combat that, wasting so many hours doom scrolling on my phone, I actually finally took the plunge and downloaded an app that's going to restrict my time on whichever apps I tell it to. So I've put a 2 hour limit on Facebook every day, a 2 hour, no, was it 1 hour or 2 hour limit on Instagram every day. I've kind of left it at that for now. These are the two big ones that suck up the most of my time. So far, I've had middling success with it because, of course, you can just turn it off. So, on bigger news days, I have definitely just turned those limits off and spent the entire day just scrolling and, as somebody who's tuned into the news, as somebody who is a Democrat, take it or leave it, that's me. I've been horrified by what's been going on in our country, and so, of course, in the last week, and so I've just been, constantly scrolling every day. I've really had to make a physical effort to separate myself from my phone on those days. So, it remains a struggle, but I am determined to reduce the amount of time I spend on my phone where I'm just mindlessly scrolling. I recognize that phones can be useful in a lot of other ways. I'm not trying to completely remove the phone from my hand, although I probably should. I probably should make a goal to spend as little time as possible with the phone near me. But that'll be, the next step, basically. So that's been one goal I've been struggling with. Another goal has been not to, and this is me being completely open here, no cannabis before 10 p.m. Because if I do consume it, I feel better overall in my body. I treat it like it is medicine. It absolutely helps the aches and pains I have. It helps me sleep at night. It helps reduce my general anxiety and depression that I have based on all the things going on in the world and my life. And so it's been great for me as a medicine. However, it is no joke. It's a common knowledge that weed is going to make you sit around and not want to do much. And that's exactly it. Period. I have found that staying away from it as long as possible and just smoking at the end of the day so that it really helps me with sleeping especially, has been useful to me in the past. A secondary consideration for this is that I am trying to lose weight. I had gastric bypass in 2020. I lost 120 pounds. I then started an extremely stressful teaching job right out of quarantine, which caused me over time to eventually gain back about 40 of those pounds, which I went through a lot of emotional turmoil and embarrassment and humiliation over that. And I recently kind of got back on track by using Mounjaro. I'm not ashamed to say that. I know a lot of people critique that as like cheating or something. And to all those people, I can say, eat a bag of dicks. I couldn't care less what you think about it. I'm here for my own personal health. You do you. I'm over here certainly doing me. So, Mounjaro at the maximum dose. Now, I know a lot of people can just take the smallest dose and see great success. I am type 2 diabetic. So this medicine for me is not something I have to pay a massive amount of money out of pocket for, which is a lucky for me, I guess. It's not lucky to be a diabetic, of course it isn't, but like in this world, it is lucky when you don't have to pay the maximum price for something, right? So anyway, when I switched to Mounjaro, I saw effects right away of suppressing my appetite, in addition to doing a wonderful job of controlling my blood sugar. So I can't recommend it highly enough if you're diabetic, strictly for that. But once I got to the maximum dose of Mounjaro, I did start to notice that it was limiting my appetite in a very reasonable way. And I just was not thinking about eating all the time, which is a true blessing. If you're somebody who has struggled with food addiction, with gaining weight, with not being able to put down snacks for whatever reason, with eating your feelings, something I did and frankly still do from time to time, of course, then you might find some success with Mounjaro. And just as they say, it eliminates the food noise in your mind, like the constantly thinking about it. It's been amazing for that. But one thing I've been doing, which is shooting myself in the foot in terms of me wanting to lose the weight that I've regained. So I've lost 20 pounds already. I got another 20 to go. Has just been consuming cannabis and fighting against the appetite suppression by literally consuming something that makes me hungry. So this is a secondary reason that I want to limit not consuming cannabis until after 10 p.m. That was harder for me because, again, like I said, it helps my overall body. It helps me feel more positive about things. It removes a lot of anxiety. So I am in the habit of smoking, like when I'm done with work, make some dinner, smoke, or have a gummy. It's just easy to work it into your life. And physiologically, I'm not sure that I could say that I'm addicted to it the same way people might be addicted to alcohol. I am definitely addicted to how it helps me, how it improves my mood and my outlook on things. I'm really dependent on it for physically feeling better. But at the same time, I can and I have given it up for months at a time without serious mental issues in terms of like craving constantly, constantly, constantly. So I don't know. The jury's out on the addictive properties of cannabis, but for me, it's something I can set aside if I need to. I have done that. I just don't really want to because of the benefits it gives me as a medicine. So, that all being said, I recognize that if I wanted to hold myself to this goal, I needed a bit of a stricter practice. And so I literally bought a timed lockbox, like a heavy duty metal lockbox, where you can lock up something for a period of time from a few minutes to 365 days, right? And there's no way to get it out unless you contact the company and they can give you an emergency code one time free in case something really truly does happen and you need that box open. But any subsequent time, it's like a $20 charge meant to limit you from obviously just defeating the purpose of the security. And that has been extremely effective for me because if I keep because I vape, I don't smoke flower because we live in an apartment. So if I'm vaping, it's like sitting by the side of my chair where I chill in the living room, and it's just a habit. I'm just like, "Oh, I'm watching some videos. I'll just like little vape almost out of boredom." And that doesn't serve me really at all. So that has been very successful for me. I've done it in the beginning. Did I feel like somebody who was a pure drug addict who had to literally lock their drugs away from themselves? Yes, I did. I felt a little embarrassed in the beginning. But since I started doing that, I have lost 5 more pounds. I've managed to really think about what I'm eating instead of just, like, getting the munchies and snacking without thought of my goals at all. So, anyway, if you're struggling with something and this could be for your phone. In fact, I think a lot of these boxes are indeed meant to hold our phones to prevent us from getting at them constantly. I would recommend it. If you just wanna spend 3 hours every day, 5 hours every day, 2 hours every day, whatever it is, without your phone in your hand, and you know that that's really hard for you, lock it up in one of these boxes. I got mine for 20 bucks on Amazon. It was highly rated. I said, "Let's take a chance," and it was absolutely worth it. I'm so glad I did it. So that is a pro tip for you. Another thing I decided was that I wanted to move my body in some kind of way for 30 minutes every day. For me, in my mind, when I made this goal, it was like walking for 30 minutes until I had a bit more like stamina going and then start going to the gym at our apartment. It's quite a good little gym here and try to start lifting weights. As I've seen in like older, like Facebook groups for older women who are interested in health, that when you get to midlife, you're supposed to like cool it on the aerobic activity and focus more on lifting weights, building strength. And that resonates with me. So I would like to do that. I haven't started weightlifting yet. In terms of walking, that has been very hit or miss for me. I'm very disappointed in myself. I can't lie. This is a goal that it shouldn't feel so hard. I feel like it shouldn't feel so hard to just get up and walk for 30 minutes. So for me, going forward, one of the goals I'm going to focus on the most is the 30 minutes of walking, or I don't even know, doing some Pilates moves, going to the gym once I'm a little bit more sorted out. Something, move my body joyfully for 30 minutes every day. That is a major goal, and I really hope I can achieve it because one thing I always try to keep in mind is this: the time is going to pass anyway. I might as well spend that time working towards something that will benefit me without question. I might as well spend that time doing something joyful. If I spend that time sitting in my living room chair, scrolling my phone, what will I have accomplished? Nothing. So, those are just some of my goals that I have for my soft 30. And is that something you would consider doing? I mean, soft 30, you get to set every single goal yourself. One of the goals I had was journaling. Maybe that's something that interests you. Maybe you're more interested in those kind of things that aren't so focused on being physical, but rather your mental well being. All of those things can be put into whatever plan you want for Soft 30. So, honestly, I can't recommend it highly enough. And if you do decide to go and create your own Soft 30 journey, let me know about it. I'd love to hear. And now for my favorite segment. escape plan. Where am I going this week? No limits on time, money. I can do anything I want, go anywhere, please. I am going to the beach. And that's not easy for me to say because I'm not somebody who likes sand on her toes. Sorry. It makes me a weirdo. I don't like the feeling of sand on my toes, but it is incomparably peaceful and relaxing to just lay on a beach all day with the beautiful sea in front of you and a drink by your side, a book to read or music to listen to, and you can just forget all your problems for those few hours you're on the beach or those few days you're visiting. And that is what I need. I need to forget reality for just a few days, please. So I'm thinking, what about Jamaica? What about Barbados, possibly? I could go to the Bahamas. I could see some pink sand beaches. That would be amazing. I would love to go to Puerto Rico and see the bioluminescence that they have there on one of their beaches. Any beach, frankly. I will take any beach this week. Any beach that comes with a drinks package. Do you know what I'm saying? Line up 5 daiquiris in a row, and I will be there, whatever the beach is, okay? Make sure the water is crystal clear blue, though. That's a must. I wanna see those turquoise waters, and let me just sit with myself, my thoughts, my book, my podcast that I'm gonna listen to and get caught up on finally, and that is what could possibly heal me this week. I will even bring my husband with me because that man loves a beach as well. He grew up with them. I did not, in fairness, having grown up in Iowa. Lake Okoboji does not count as going to the beach. But my husband grew up going to, Mediterranean beaches of Tangier for his childhood. So bit of a different perspective there. But any beach you care to name, I will be there relaxing this week. And now let's wrap up with my segment, something I didn't actually hate this week. Yay! I actually this week did not hate sports, just for this 1 week. I'm giving it a period of grace for this week. I am not a sports girl, never have been, probably never will be, but my husband is massively into soccer, or as they call it outside the US, just football. And I never used to be into it. I used to rag on it endlessly for just being boring or guys taking dives all the time and pretending to be injured when they're really not. Like, all the same jokes everybody makes. But my husband is a huge fan, and his team, one of his teams, is of course the Moroccan national team, as my husband is Moroccan. And they have a pretty good soccer team. They famously got into the quarterfinals of the World Cup last time it was played in 2022. They're going to be in the World Cup in the US in 2026. And currently, they just finished hosting the Africa Cup. And that was a huge achievement for them to play host for that contest. And my husband has been so proud of them. I mean, acknowledging all of their faults and their weaknesses. To be fair, he did not actually think they would win the tournament. In the end, they did not. Spoiler alert, Morocco got second place to Senegal, and Morocco didn't have a perfect couple of last games. For the semifinal, they did win. Of course, they won. They got all the way to the final. But he's been super stressed about them going forward in the tournament. So, over the past week or two, I've been watching the games with him and really kind of getting into it. I do support the Moroccan team, Dima Maghreb, as they say, and I was disappointed that they didn't win the final yesterday. But getting to spend that time with my husband and truly understanding this massive part of who he is, he constantly is watching sports videos and thinking about Morocco and other football teams and just getting so into it. It was nice to be able to share in that. And I know there are tons of women out there who absolutely are diehard sports fans. I'm not saying that sports fandom is gendered really, that it's impossible to be a sports fan as a woman, just I wasn't personally myself. And so it's been a pleasure to kind of get into it, to cheer for this team, to really live or die by like, oh my God, did Kimi score that goal? Or oh no, what happened? Like It's kind of crazy for somebody who's not a sports fan to suddenly become a fan of at least one team. So I've been loving that this week. I wish they had won the final, but they did try their best, I believe, even if it wasn't good enough for on this particular occasion. I do think they have some good chances in the World Cup. And I literally can't believe I'm putting into my own podcast that something that made me happy this week was sports. Alas. That's going to do it for us on the Pause Straight Up. I've been your host, Shannon. Thank you so much for joining me this week. It's been a real pleasure.
Dancing the
Take care of
stardust
yourself, and
gentle
I'll see you
flow.
next Tuesday.
Dancing